This is not to say that degrees are entirely worthless. For certain specialized professions, like medicine or engineering, they remain essential. But for a growing number of fields, they are becoming less of a requirement and more of a nice-to-have. The blind faith in academic credentials as the sole measure of a person's potential is a dangerous illusion. It creates a rigid hierarchy that excludes countless talented individuals who may not have followed a traditional academic path. We are confusing academic ability with intelligence, and this confusion is costing us dearly. We must question if the degree is still the reliable currency it once was, or if we need a new way to value human potential. The rise of technology has fundamentally changed everything. It has changed how we communicate, how we work, and how we live. And yet, for the most part, our classrooms look remarkably similar to how they did a century ago. A teacher stands at the front, delivering information to a passive audience of students. But outside those classroom walls, a revolution is happening. The internet has placed the entirety of human knowledge at our fingertips. Suddenly, the teacher is no longer the sole keeper of information. The traditional model of education, based on the scarcity of knowledge, has been shattered. Information is now abundant, accessible to anyone with a connection. This changes everything. Consider the alternatives that are emerging from this digital landscape. Online learning platforms offer courses from the world's leading universities, often for free or for a fraction of the cost of a traditional degree. You can learn coding from an expert at Google or philosophy from a professor at Harvard, all from your own home. Project-based learning allows students to engage with real-world problems, working collaboratively to create something new. Self-study is no longer a lonely pursuit in a dusty library. It is a dynamic process supported by global communities of learners, online forums, and endless tutorials. These are not just poor substitutes for a real education. In many ways, they are superior. These new models of learning place the student at the center of the experience. They foster autonomy, curiosity, and a sense of ownership over one's own education. Instead of being force-fed a standardized curriculum, learners can follow their passions. They can dive deep into subjects that fascinate them, acquiring skills that are directly relevant to their interests and goals. This approach nurtures the intrinsic motivation to learn, which is far more powerful than the extrinsic motivators of grades and tests that dominate our current system. It trusts that people, when given the right tools and environment, have a natural desire to grow and discover. This brings us to the immense financial burden of traditional education. The cost of a university degree has spiraled out of control, leaving millions of young people shackled with debt before they even begin their careers. It is a system that is becoming increasingly exclusive, favoring those who can afford to pay. We have to ask, is this sustainable? Is it ethical? When more flexible, affordable, and arguably more effective alternatives are available, why do we continue to push young people down this expensive and often restrictive path? The digital revolution is not just a threat to the old model. It is an incredible opportunity to build something better in its place. We stand at a crossroads. We can either continue to patch up a system that is fundamentally broken, or we can have the courage to imagine something radically different. The question is no longer whether our education system needs to change, but how. The industrial model of mass education is a blunt instrument in a world that requires precision, personalization, and creativity. We must move away from the assembly line mentality and embrace a more organic, human-centered approach to learning. This means recognizing that every student is unique, with their own passions, talents, and ways of learning. The future of education must be personal. What would a truly personalized system look like? It would be a flexible ecosystem of learning, not a rigid, one-size-fits-all institution. It would blend different approaches, structured classroom learning for some subjects, collaborative project-based work for others, and self-directed online exploration for yet others. The role of the teacher would evolve from being a dispenser of facts to a mentor, a facilitator, and a co-learner. Their primary role would be to ignite curiosity, to cultivate a passion for learning, and to help students navigate their own educational journeys. Assessment would focus not on rote memorization, but on growth, on the development of skills, and on the quality of the work produced. This requires a profound shift in our thinking. We must move from standardization to personalization. We must change the culture of our schools from one of compliance and conformity to one of creativity and inquiry. This means rethinking everything: the curriculum, the school day, the physical layout of our classrooms, and the very purpose of education itself. The goal should not be to simply get students through the system and into a job. The goal should be to help them discover their talents, to develop their unique capacities, and to become active, engaged, and compassionate citizens of the world. It is about nurturing the whole person, not just their academic abilities. Ultimately, we must redefine what it means to be educated. It is not about how much you know, but about your capacity to learn. It is not about being a passive recipient of information, but an active creator of meaning. The challenges we face as a species, from climate change to social division, are immense. We cannot hope to solve them with the same kind of thinking that created them. We need a new generation of creative, critical, and collaborative thinkers. Our current education system is not designed to produce them. It is time to stop asking if our schools are obsolete and start building the schools of the future. The question is, do we have the will to do it?